Howdy y'all, welcome or welcome back to Eye of the Beholder, where we review the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures created by WOTC and WizKids in the 20-year time span between 2003 and 2023. With this video, we continue our review of the Outsider minis, so pull up a seat and settle in. Bladelings call Acheron their home plane. Roughly humanoid in size and stance, they have a semi-metallic skin that acts as natural armor. Xenophobic to the extreme, they immediately attack and kill any who trespass in their home plane. Fun fact, a Bladeling can release what they call a razor storm, basically a blast of shrapnel from their skin.
Unfortunately, we only get one Bladeling mini, which is a bit of a shame, because how fun would it be to fight a band of these? From way back in 2004, we get this Bladeling fighter from the Giants of Legend set. Clad in minimal armor and wielding a long sword in both hands, the gray skin is liberally covered in the spikes the race is known for, even on his bare head. Great facial expression as well. Score: Paint 15, Pose 13, Playability 13, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 57.
The next grouping of creatures all fall under the catch-all of Celestial. Creatures of good who reside in the upper planes and occasionally help those in need on the prime material. Starting with the Arcadian Avenger. They act as defenders of their home plane of, Arcadia. Resembling human women but with angelic wings and skin that is barely discernible from their armor, they generally fight with twin longswords.
We get our only Arcadian Avenger mini in 2007's Night Below set. Her body is completely encased in ornate plate mail, with only her face exposed. The slightly bluish tint of her wings does offer a nice contrast in color. Posed at the ready, with the traditional long swords out, one held high above her head while the second low across the stomach for protection. Score: Paint 13, Pose 13, Playability 11, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 52.
The Asura is another messenger of the gods, similar to divas but serving deities of a more chaotic good bent, and often appearing on the prime material plane to help the faithful. Resembling blue-skinned human women, but with a couple noticeable differences: the bird-like feet and, the flaming wings. Fun fact, Asura can appear as normal humanoids in order to better assimilate among mortal beings.
We get our only Asura miniature in 2007's Unhallowed set, and, with apologies to the tubes, she's a beauty. Wearing a golden outfit that does little to cover up her blue-hued skin, she is practically wreathed in flames, starting from the base, up through the wings, and onto the flaming sword, all done in fantastic orange translucence. The pose is dynamic as well, one bird-like foot thrust forward beyond the base while she brings her sword to bear. The amazing detailing of her hair and face is just gravy at this point. Score: 100.
The Baryar are centaur-like creatures who hail from the plane of Isgard, a plane heavily influenced by Norse mythology. Similar to centaurs, they also appear to be more of a cross between man and ram, as most sport curved ram horns on their human-like heads. Natural wanderers, they are found throughout the plane of Isgard, living an almost satyr-like lifestyle. Good work if you can get it.
We get our only Baryar mini, called a Baryar Ranger, and it comes to us from the Aberration set of 2004. For a race that's supposed to be all about the fun, he sure is armed for bear as he rears up on his hind legs, a long sword in one hand and a dagger in the other, while a longbow is strapped to his back. Coloring is brown for the body fur with a lighter underbelly, partially armored with bands of leather across the back. His torso is of a lighter hue and well-defined. Note the well-muscled arms and torso. Score: Paint 21, Pose 18, Playability 12, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 68.
Koalas are an ancient celestial race of winged serpents, renowned for their benevolence to all creatures not of evil alignment. Besides possessing a poisonous bite, they are capable of both casting a wide variety of clerical and wizard spell, as well as wielding psionics, which they often use to disguise themselves as they travel the plains, meeting others and gathering information.
When I first pulled this Koala miniature out of a Death Knell booster box in 2005, I was struck by how absolutely gorgeous it was. The multicolored wings were like nothing we'd gotten from WOTC before. Between the wings and the body, there are 7 distinct colors. The pose is fantastic, as well as the creature uses its wings to rise up to a height that would tower over your standard adventurer. And do I really have to point out the beautiful feathering detail on the wings? You know it's coming. 100. "12 years later, we get this smaller and probably more appropriately sized miniature in 2017's Tomb of Annihilation set. Although smaller, it's almost as pretty as the WOTC version, also posed in a striking position while its orange wings help support the creature's stance. Blue body and creamy white underbelly complete the palette. Playability-wise, this is probably the correct mini to use, but I still love that WOTC version. Score: Paint 22, Pose 25, Playability 25, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 92.
Empyreans are literally the children of the gods, generally good and benevolent in nature, but it's not unheard of one to turn to evil. Kids acting out, I guess. Incredibly beautiful and incredibly powerful, the fact that they do not age can make them reckless in battle. Being unable to age does not mean they are immune to death, although it is probable that their divine parents will raise them from the dead if their child's action results in death.
Believe me, I understand the financial necessity of WizKids creating duplicates of certain minis to defray manufacturing costs, but I can't think of any other mini less in need of duplication than Empyreans. I mean, when are the PCs going to have to face off against 2 of them? But WizKids did take duplication to insane levels in the Monster Menagerie 3 set of 2018. 34 of the 44 minis of the set were duplicates. Due to the size of the Imperiums, it's very easy to see the very minimal differences: the color of the loincloth and the weapon each wields. Score: Pain 18, Pose 13, Playability 10, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 58.
A Justicator has only one reason to exist: enforce the law and punish chaos. Good or evil makes no difference. They are just as likely to support lawful evil devils as they are lawful good angels. Besides the damage they can mete out with their enormous greatswords, they have a full complement of spell-like abilities to call upon if needed.
We get our only Justicator miniature in the Underdark set of 2005. The pose: sword held high above his head in his left hand, while his right is clenched in a fist, eyes heavenwards and brown hair blowing to the side. To me, looks like he's calling down a spell effect to smite the wicked before him. And by the way, the lean back pose, I think that's intentional. Paint is muted but solid, blue wings with a bit of whitewash for detailing, and gray plate mail with a trailing white loincloth for contrast. Score: Paint 15, Pose 15, Playability 12, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 58.
The Kai-Rin comes from Japanese mythology. In D&D world, they are celestial harbingers of good fortune. They can be found working alongside good-aligned deities opposing evil, or even on the prime material plane protecting large mortal populations. Their golden hide blazes with light while in flight, while a single horn, unicorn-like, sprouts from the top of its head.
We get our only Kai Rin mini in 2020's Fangs and Talons set, and I gotta say, it is quite beautiful. The golden hue of the body is nicely offset by the luminous purple of its underbelly, while its white mane, tail, and Fu Manchu-like whiskers flow about the creature with wild abandon. I do wish the horn-on head was a different color, though as it blends too well with the mane. Pose is what you'd expect. A very solid stand allows the mini to be captured in flight, body positioned upward as it rises into the heavens. Score: Paint 24, Pose 17, Playability 14, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 77.
At first glance, a Leland may be mistaken for a Medusa or Merilith, but fear not, these chaotic good creatures' home plane is Isgard. With the upper body of a beautiful woman, the lower body of a snake, and the wings of an angel, these creatures love art, music, and unspoiled lands. Treat an artist poorly, or desecrate wilderness, well, the normally peaceful Lelands are likely to get upset.
Our only Leland mini comes courtesy of the Blood War set of 2006. Another gorgeous early mini. The skin tone of the upper torso blends seamlessly into the blue and copper of the snake body, while her outstretched wings mirror the same color combination. Pose is hard to quantify. The raised saber in her right hand is sobering, but she reaches out with her left, perhaps in friendship. And I gotta say, her top is doing some serious support work. Score: Paint 20, Pose 23, Playability 15, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 80.
The majestic Pegasus, winged steed from Greek mythology, famously the mount of Perseus in his battle against the Kraken. Despite this, Pegasi are wild creatures and very difficult to train. First off, they would only allow those of good disposition to ride them, and only bareback. Pegasi will not tolerate a saddle. Once tamed, a Pegasus develops a bond with its rider for life, only breaking if the rider turns to evil.
WOTC goes a different way with our first Pegasus mini from 2005's Angel Fire set. Called a Celestial Pegasus, WOTC eschews the usual ivory white, going with earth tones for the coloring, a tan body with wings that darken to brown to match the mane and tail. With the obvious exception of the wings, Pose is appropriately horse-like, with one foreleg raised as if about to take flight. Score: Paint 13, Pose 13, Playability 14, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 55. WizKids goes traditional with its Pegasus mini, and I like it. From their very first set, 2014's Tyranny of Dragons, WizKids shows that sometimes simplicity and meeting expectations is best. Mounted on a solid stand to capture the mini in flight, its long wings are completely outstretched as if gliding, tail flowing behind. The uniform white of the body and wings are exactly as they should be, with specks of black for the eyes, ears, and rear hooves. Score: Paint 18, Pose 20, Playability 16, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 77.
Protectars are lesser celestial beings who, as the name implies, exist to protect other, less deified folks like mortals. Relatively common on the prime material plane, they can usually be found helping good aligned folks battle evil, usually in a support position such as healing the injured or guarding their allies. Be warned, it doesn't mean they can't fight.
Our only Protectar mini comes in WOTC's fourth set, 2004's Giants of Legends. Armed with sword and shield, Pose definitely has a guard vibe to it, head turned in profile as it watches over its charges. The paint palette is what you'd expect, white robes under a leather breastplate and bluish wings. Close examination does reveal some fairly intricate designs on the breastplate and shield, though. Score: Paint 13, Pose 12, Playability 12, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 49.
Radiant idols are fallen celestials who have been banished to the material planes due to their desire to be worshipped. They retain their angelic beauty and many of their powers, but their wings are either bound in chain or weights, or, in extreme cases, ripped from their backs, leaving bloody stumps. Fun fact, radiant idols absolutely cannot fly. Any fly spells cast on them fail, shape change into avian form doesn't help, and if they're aboard a flying ship or a floating city, it will crash to the ground.
Our only Radiant Idol mini comes in 2020's Eberron Rising from the Last War set, and he got the full wings ripped off treatment, leaving only blood-tinged stubs. Despite the impressive-looking Morning Star he holds in his right hand, Pose seems conciliatory to me, indicating that he's in a conversation, left hand reached out with a serene look upon his face. The gray torso is well-defined. A dark wash helps with that. Score: Paint 16, Pose 13, Playability 14, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 58.
Along with the Pegasus, the unicorn is probably the most famous of the equine celestials. As shy as they are pure, they dwell deep within Sylvian forests, conversing with dryads, pixies, and other fey creatures while protecting their forest from evil. Their most notable feature, the fabled unicorn horn, can heal with a touch to those who are worthy or impale those who are not.
WOTC wastes little time giving us their first unicorn mini in their third set, 2004's Archfiends. Posed rearing up on its hind legs to bring its front hooves to bear on an enemy, the pure white of its coat is nicely contrasted with the blue-white of the mane, tail, and fetlocks. The horn is more a cream color. Close examination does show a bit of spiraling on it. Good first effort. Score: Paint 15, Pose 15, Playability 13, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 58. Five years later, WOTC goes a different way with their final unicorn. From 2009's Monster Manual Dangerous Delves, they go with a purple hide with violet spots, black mane and tail, and silver horn with matching hooves. It could be a dusk unicorn, a dark-colored variant. I really like the pose as it leans into its sharp right turn. Note the position of the tail while it brings its horn to bear. Score: Paint 18, Pose 19, Playability 15, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 71. I'm showing these two WizKid miniatures together as they have the exact same paint palette, snow white body with yellow mane, tail, and fetlocks, and a yellow horn to match. The first, from 2016's Monster Menagerie set, is posed pretty relaxed, down on all fours as he prances through the forest, and yes, it's a he. Male unicorns have a bit of a beard. Score: Paint 17, Pose 13, Playability 15, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 60. Our final unicorn, called a Lamorna, is from 2021's The Wild Beyond the Witchlight set, and it's a bit more agitated. WizKids uses a clear stand to pose the mini rearing way up as she slashes away with her hooves. The pose makes her look bigger than the male, but they are comparable size-wise. I would absolutely use these two minis as a mated pair. Score: Paint 17, Pose 17, Playability 15, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 69. Here's a fun bit. Also from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight set, we get a prop. this unicorn horn. Meant to be given to the PCs during play, its size really lets you see the detailing spiraling of a unicorn horn.
And now for something completely different, meet the Chaos Beast. Ever-changing, it has no true form, constantly changing and exposing fangs, claws, and eyes. Be warned, this amorphous mass can literally turn its victim into a Chaos Beast as well, with just a touch.
Our only Chaos Beast comes to us from 2007's Night Below set. Pose, such as it is, reveals various teeth and eyes. Of note is the single eye at the base, next to a large tooth-filled maw with a long tongue slithering out. Other than those details, dark gray is it for color. Playability-wise, it might be fun to drop one of these on the playmat for the PCs to deal with, especially if one of them gets afflicted. Score: Paint 13, Pose 15, Playability 16, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 58.
Let's close with that. Next week we'll be getting into some really demonic minis. I'm talking demons, people. There's a lot of them, so I'll have to break up the demon minis into 2 episodes. Thanks as always for watching Eye of the Beholder. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Until next time.